My name is Jason Glass, and this is my one life testimony. Pastor Homer Allison, the first day that I stepped into his church, he shared his testimony, and it was about his struggles with his father who wrestled with alcoholism and his thoughts of deep, dark depression and suicide and the things that led him to Christ. You know, he's sitting there with a gun in his hand thinking, I can just end it all right here. But he said that the Lord spoke to him on that day and said, this is not what you're meant for. And from that is his story of redemption. And I identified with it so much, like I'm sitting in the pew like this, just bent over because I'm so sick of myself. And hearing his story was something that I just immediately connected with. And I said, this isn't what I want for myself. I don't want this to be the end of my story either. As a kid, I went to church with my mom and with my little sister, and our dad never came with us. I came from a family that ended up being very dysfunctional. That's the way they talked about it a lot. My parents divorced when I was about 13 years old, and leading up to that, it was just constant battles and fights, and they disagreed about all kinds of things. I witnessed them put hands on each other about money, about ways to take care of us, just about everything under the sun. It would last for hours a lot of times. It would be like something would just spark the argument, and next thing you know, they're cussing each other out. And it was a hard thing to experience, but even harder than that was when they actually split up, like the fight that led to that. And I just remember laying in bed feeling so alone about it. After the divorce, or after the separation really, my dad stayed at home. I stayed with him, and my little sister and my mom, they went their own separate ways, and the communication with them was cut off. I mean, I was at that age where you can choose what parent you want to stay with and who you want to talk to. So I didn't see my mom or her side of the family for about 3 years after my grandma on my mom's side passed. And I remember getting the phone call that she was in the hospital, and I was so headstrong and stubborn that I never even answered it. Probably one of my biggest regrets. And so, you know, coming from that, I learned staying with my dad what was so tough about living with him. And I didn't know this at the time, but my dad has actually like chemical imbalances. He's a very sick man, and that came out a lot in our relationship. You know, we would be fighting about something stupid. I'd ask him if I could get a driver's license. The next thing I know, I'm on the bathroom floor crying because we've had a fist fight, and he's threatening to kick me out of the house, and I don't have anywhere else to go. And I'm thinking, I'm like helpless on my own. I don't have anywhere else I can turn. It was a really rough year, and I had a lot of really tough things happen to me. I was with a girl who cheated on me, and we were already long distance as it was, so that was tough. I had a car that was breaking down. My dad actually slapped me in the face, and I never wanted to see him again, so I left home. I finished the semester, but I failed classes, and my car was breaking down all the time. And it was actually the same year as the Bastrop County fire, and so I'd had to find a really long way to get to school, and it was absolutely crazy, and I ended up dropping out of school after that year. The only thing was just getting out of that situation, those toxic relationships, just avoiding them, just running away. I tried to run, basically that's what I did. I tried running away and making a whole new, different life for myself, and for a while it worked, but I ended up being involved with, you know, other people who were just as toxic or worse. It was like I got these roommates, and we were all broke, and we were always going out and drinking and partying and living a lifestyle that was just, it is incredibly unhealthy. You think you're like invincible or something. And, I was a bottom of the barrel guy. I ran completely out of money and I couldn't find a job. And I decided to go back to school even though that meant going into more debt. And I got involved with another girl and she ended up cheating on me. And it's funny the way that kind of thing breaks your heart. Back in the day, you think you're so important that this one person has decided to destroy your life, and that's the thing that prevents you from doing anything that you want to do. And looking for more meaning to my own misery, I stepped into a church, and that's really when my life started to change, when it started to turn around. The moment when I put my faith in Jesus Christ, it actually sort of happened at something that I made a joke out of. I used to call the gym an iron temple, because I would say, I'm going to the iron temple to go pray to the iron gods to make me strong. I was doing some bench presses, and I just started thanking God for all the things that He had given me, all the abilities to turn my life around, for the strength that He provided me. And in that moment of humility, I had no choice but to just break down in tears. And it was almost sort of like I was beating my chest in sorrow for all the things that I had done, and for all the mistakes that I had made, and for all the sorrow and misery that I just wallowed in. And I didn't want to be like that anymore. And I had a vision that I was at the throne of the Lord. I was at the feet of Jesus Christ. And He's sitting on this throne, and I approached it, and I was beating my chest, and I was crying, and I was washing His feet with my tears. And God lifted me and held me to His chest and held me. And I felt this overwhelming love and heard His heartbeat, that everything was going to be all right. And I could see just all the different ways in the past that God had been with me, that I wasn't alone, that through all of my pain and suffering, there was someone there to comfort me, and I had no idea they were there. And so coming into church every Sunday and listening to Pastor Homer Allison preach, the way that he preaches is sort of very passionate, and he takes that into everything. And we were such a small church, he couldn't be involved with everybody. He approached me and he immediately wanted to know how I was going to be involved and what kind of roles I was looking for. And at that time, I wasn't ready to share my entire story with a stranger, but I was ready to make a change. And so I agreed to start saying yes to be involved in so many of these different ways, and start serving. Homer Allison, one thing that he said was he took a trip to Washington, D.C., saying to go down and kneel in front of the statue of Abraham Lincoln and just pray for the country. So he went in the pouring rain, protecting his Bible with his own body, and he knelt down and prayed for the country, and a security guard saw him looking absolutely crazy and was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And he got to share why he was doing it with no shame. That was something that really appealed to me. There was a time that it was flooding in Houston, and the water was so deep, and I was stuck in my car, and I had nowhere to go. And so I had ended up right in front of Homer Allison's church. And that was like basically the only dry ground around. It was flooded up to his door, and that was about it. And so I was so scared. I had my Bible with me. I took it out, and I did what Homer did. I took my Bible, and I protected it with my body, and I took it up to the steps of the church. And I just prayed out of fear, and slowly began to dawn on me that this wasn't my time, that I wasn't going to die right here, that this was not that big of a deal, and that people were going to make it through this. And as I was walking out, there was this whole group coming out of the natatorium, the swimming pool, because the church was right behind our school, and that's where the swimming pool was. And I sort of walked up to them and I asked them how they were doing with this huge smile on my face, and they just looked at me like I was crazy, and they were like, "How are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I just prayed for us in front of the church over there, and I think everything's gonna be all right." You have no idea how much that it helps you heal to help somebody else. The love of helping the homeless has never really left me. Recently, I wanted to start an online business. I wanted to collect a whole bunch of different kinds of orthopedic shoes, because when I was going to work, standing up for long periods of time and walking for long periods of time, it made my feet hurt. And I prayed about God giving me the strength to finish a website and create that kind of business so I can support myself. The answer to my prayer was, He said, "No, you're going to make this website and you're going to donate everything to a homeless ministry. Somebody who needs shoes more than you do." There are people in a lot of pain just like me, and I can do something for them to maybe make them feel like there's some hope in the world. I started teaching young boys, junior high age boys, about the Bible, and we would go over different stories, and there's nothing like connecting with somebody who's a young Christian, even if you are yourself. Just look in your eyes and tell you that they love you for what you do, that you're appreciated, that you're worth something. Something that I haven't done before is share my testimony. Looking back at my experiences as an early Christian, I know that it was a powerful thing. It's something that I wanted to do too, so that if somebody heard it, if they're in a deep, dark place like I was, they don't have to live like that. I believe that I was led to do this in order to help somebody who is feeling that way. You're not alone, that there are other people with experiences like you, and don't be too proud to ask for help.